Once upon a time, all living things were grouped together into two kingdoms, namely Plantae and Animalia. Animals included every living thing that moved, ate, and grew to a certain size and stopped growing. Plants included every living thing that did not move or eat and that continued to grow throughout life. It became very difficult to group some living things into one or the other, so every scientist felt that there is a dire need of more kingdoms. Then, early in the past century, the two kingdoms were replaced by 5 kingdoms.
Hello students, I welcome you all to today's lesson, which is about kingdom PROTISTA, which includes diverse array of organisms. Students, as you know that the 5 kingdom system of classification is proposed by R.H. Whitaker in the year 1969. This system replaced the old 2 kingdom system of grouping of living organisms. Whitaker classified the living organisms into 5 kingdoms, namely Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia.
If we look at this 5 kingdom system, according to the classification, Monera represents the earliest group of organisms. You know, Monera are thought to have given rise to Protista. From Protista, the 3 other kingdoms of organisms, namely Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia, are evolved as shown here in the visual. Monera includes prokaryotes like eubacteria and archaebacteria. Individuals are single-celled, even some of them are non-motile. They do not possess chloroplast, nucleus, or other organelles. They do have a cell wall. Examples of this kingdom Monera are bacteria and blue-green algae. Our next kingdom is Protista. Protists are single-celled organisms. They are identified by their mode of movement. They usually move by using cilia, flagella, or pseudopodia. Examples include red algae, slime molds, amoebae, and protozoans. From this Protista kingdom, as I have already told that the other 3 kingdoms evolved. These are Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੰਜਾਈ ਬਾਵ ਉੱਲੀ ਜਗਤ ਦੀਆਂ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ਤਾਵਾਂ ਵੇਖੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਸੈੱਲ ਕੰਧ ਵਾਲੇ ਬਹੁਸੈਲੇ ਸਜੀਵ ਹਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੇਂਦਰਕ ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਕਲੋਰੋਪਲਾਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਸੂਖਮਦਰਸ਼ੀ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਣ ਤੇ ਉੱਲੀ ਦਾ ਆਕਾਰ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸੂਖਮ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਮਸ਼ਰੂਮ ਤੱਕ। ਪੌਦੇ ਬਹੁਸੈਲੇ ਅਤੇ ਗੁੰਝਲਦਾਰ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੈੱਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੇਂਦਰਕ, ਕਲੋਰੋਪਲਾਸਟ ਅਤੇ ਸੈੱਲ ਕੰਧਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਪੌਦਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਸੰਸ਼ਲੇਸ਼ਣ ਯਾਨੀ ਫੋਟੋਸਿੰਥੇਸਿਸ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਿਆ ਨਾਲ ਭੋਜਨ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਜੰਤੂ ਬਹੁਸੈਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਰਚਨਾ ਪੌਦਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗੁੰਝਲਦਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਅਪੈਂਡੇਜਸ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਨਾਲ ਗਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਜੰਤੂਆਂ ਦੇ ਸੈੱਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੇਂਦਰਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੈੱਲ ਕੰਧਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਕਲੋਰੋਪਲਾਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਜਾਨਵਰ ਭੋਜਨ ਦਾ ਅੰਤਰਗ੍ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ।
ਬੱਚਿਓ, ਇਹ ਸੀ 5 ਕਿੰਗਡਮ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆਫ ਕਲਾਸੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ R.H. ਵਿਟਕਰ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਪੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ 5 ਕਿੰਗਡਮਸ ਮੋਨੇਰਾ, ਪ੍ਰੋਟਿਸਟਾ, ਫੰਜਾਈ, ਪਲਾਂਟੇਈ ਐਂਡ ਐਨੀਮੇਲੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਰ ਪਾਠ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਕਿੰਗਡਮ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ ਦ ਕਿੰਗਡਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਟਿਸਟਾ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪਾਠ ਨੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖੋਗੇ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਲੈਣ ਦਿਓ।
Upon completion of this topic, learners will be able to discuss kingdom protista, name important groups of protista, describe briefly chrysophytes and dinoflagellates, describe important characteristics of euglenoids, describe important characteristics of slime molds and protozoans.
So students, these are the learning objectives for today's lesson. The first thing that we will do now is that we will discuss kingdom protista. So let us discuss this kingdom protista.
Kingdom protista. The kingdom protista is one of the commonly recognized biological kingdoms, including all the eukaryotes except for the plants, fungi, animals. I hope you know eukaryotes. Eukaryotes means organisms having defined nucleus. In fact, kingdom protista is a home for the leftover organisms that could not be classified elsewhere. Why they are known as leftover? The reason is none of them have the distinctive characters of plants, animals or fungi, so they are put in a different group named protista. They are colonial and unicellular eukaryotes. The organisms possess nuclear membranes and mitochondria. All members of this vast kingdom have nucleated cells. They live in water or at least moist places. If we see their mode of reproduction, most of the time they reproduce mitotically. But some are capable of meiosis, means they reproduce by sexual means also. Cellular respiration in the kingdom is primarily an aerobic process, meaning they have mitochondria for cellular respiration, and some, lacking mitochondria, rely on mutualistic bacteria. If you look at their mode of nutrition, this include photosynthesis, absorption, ingestion, or combination of all these. Flagellum is most involved in locomotion in protists. Flagella vary in number, size, and or position. That is, sometimes it is anterior, posterior, or lateral in position.
Students, these were some important characteristics of protists. Some unicellular aquatic protistans like plankton forms a very important component of the food chain. The photosynthetic ones are called phytoplankton or photosynthetic autotrophs like unicellular colored algae and diatoms. These protists have different groups. The kingdom protista is divided into groups by lifestyle, that is, according to whether they are animal-like, plant-like, or fungus-like. The classification is also based on modes of nutrition, pigments present, flagella, cell wall components, and the environment they inhabit. So let us discuss some important groups of Protista.
The kingdom Protista is divided into 5 major groups as shown here in the visual. Chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans. Let us discuss these one by one. Chrysophytes. The golden algae or chrysophytes are a large group of heterocont algae found mostly in freshwater. Heterocont means mobile life cycle stage in which 2 types of flagella are present. Some species are colorless, but the vast majority are photosynthetic. As such, they are particularly important in lakes, where they may be the primary source of food for zooplankton. There are more than 1,000 described species of golden algae. Most of them are free-swimming and unicellular, but some are filamentous and colonial forms. But most members are unicellular flagellates with either 2 visible flagella, as in Ochromonas, or sometimes 1, as in Cromulina. Chrysophytes contain chlorophyll, but also possess a pigment carotenoid called fucoxanthin, which gives them a yellow-brown color. Most of these have no cell covering. Some have lorisae or shells, such as Dinobryon, which is sessile and grows in branched colonies. Some members are generally amoeboid, with long branching cell extensions, though they pass through flagellate stages as well. Chrysomoeba and Rhizochrysis are typical of these. Chrysophytes generally reproduce asexually, although some types reproduce sexually through a process called meiosis. Second main group of the kingdom Protista is dinoflagellates. The dinoflagellates are a large group of flagellate protists. Most are marine plankton, but they are common in freshwater habitats as well. Most dinoflagellates are unicellular forms with 2 flagella. One of these extends towards the posterior, called the longitudinal flagellum, while the other forms a lateral circle, called the transverse flagellum. This imparts a distinctive spiral to their swimming motion. Some species glow in the dark in a process called bioluminescence. These species contain a compound called luciferin. The species which emit lights are Noctiluca, Goniolox, etc. About half of the species of dinoflagellates are photosynthetic. The other halves are predators that attack bacteria, algae, and even fish. They are second only to diatoms as marine primary producers. Being primary producers, this feature makes them an important part of the aquatic food chain. Common examples of dinoflagellates are Glenodinium, Peridinium, Gymnodinium, and Noctiluca. Third main group of the kingdom Protista, which we will discuss now, is euglenoids. Euglenoids. The euglenoids were first defined by Otto Büchseli in 1884 as the flagellate order Euglenida. Organisms of Euglenophyta were classified as both animals and plants, as they share characteristics with both. Now, euglenoids are included in kingdom Protista. This biological division contains the algal species Euglena and over 1,000 species of related aquatic algae. They are all unicellular or single-celled and are mainly found in freshwater environment as shown here in the visual. The typical euglenoid is bright green due to the presence of chlorophylls A and B, which are also found in plant cell. Many euglenoids have chloroplasts and produce energy through photosynthesis, but others feed by phagocytosis or strictly by diffusion. Euglenoids are characterized by absence of cell wall, but they do contain flexible pellicle made up of protein. All the euglenoids have one or two flagella by means of which they can swim easily. Euglena bears a flagellum inserted at the interior end inner cavity. They bear a red pigmented eye spot and a gullet near the base of the flagellum. The pigment in eye spot is astaxanthin. Food is stored as a polysaccharide paramylon. Reproduction is usually asexual by cell division, but sexual reproduction has been reported in some species. Under favorable conditions, euglenoids reproduce simply by longitudinal binary fission as shown here in the visual. The most characteristic genus is Euglena. It is very common in ponds and pools, especially when the water has been polluted by runoff from fields or lawns in which fertilizers have been used. Few examples of euglenoid flagellates are Euglena, Paranema, Astacia and Trichomonas.
ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਓ, ਇਹ ਯੂਗਲੀਨਾਈਡ ਬਹੁਤ ਦਿਲਚਸਪ ਹਨ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿਵੇਂ? ਜਦੋਂ ਰੌਸ਼ਨੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਯੂਗਲੀਨਾਈਡ ਦਾ ਕਲੋਰੋਪਲਾਸਟ ਖਾਰਜ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਪਰਪੋਸ਼ੀ ਭਾਵ ਹੈਟਰੋਟ੍ਰੋਫਿਕ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਸੂਖਮ ਸਜੀਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਰਬਨਿਕ ਪੋਸ਼ਣ ਮਿਲ ਸਕੇ। ਇਹ ਸਜੀਵ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਟੋਟ੍ਰੋਫਿਕ ਅਤੇ ਹੈਟਰੋਟ੍ਰੋਫਿਕ ਪੋਸ਼ਣ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਕਸੋਟ੍ਰੋਫਸ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ
Euglenophyta
ਡਿਵੀਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਸਜੀਵ ਯੂਗਲੀਨਾ ਬਾਰੇ ਪੜਾਂਗੇ। So let us discuss this interesting organism in detail.
Euglena. Euglena is a unicellular organism classified into kingdom Protista and division Euglenophyta. Euglena is a freshwater single-celled organism which usually lives in quiet ponds or puddles. Euglena have chloroplasts and can make their own food by photosynthesis. Euglena is a flagellated organism which contains many structures. In the center of the body, nucleus is present as shown here in the visual. It contains the cell's DNA and controls cell's activities. As you can see here, towards the anterior of the cell, there is a star-like structure, the contractile vacuole. This organelle helps the cell to remove excess water, and without it, euglena could take in more water due to osmosis and the cell would explode. Euglena also finds its way to light and dark areas by using the light detector called the stigma or eye spot that is located here on the anterior end of the alga. Notice this long whip-like structure on the right side of the organism. This is a flagellum. It helps the euglena in movement. Contrary to what you might think, the flagellum pulls the euglena through the water, somewhat like the propeller of an airplane pulls it through the air. The green ovoid structures are the chloroplasts where photosynthesis takes place. This is what a typical euglena looks like.
विद्यार्थियों, एक सेली सजीव यानी यूनिसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म यूग्लिना बहुत विलक्षण है। विलक्षण क्यों? क्योंकि ये हेटरोट्रॉफिक भी है ਅਤੇ ਆਟੋਟ੍ਰੋਫਿਕ ਵੀ ਹੈ। ਯੂਗਲਿਨਾ ਦੇ ਕਲੋਰੋਪਲਾਸਟ ਸੂਰਜ ਦੀ ਰੋਸ਼ਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਕੜ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਨ ਜੋ ਭੋਜਨ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਸੰਸ਼ਲੇਸ਼ਣ ਲਈ ਵਰਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। As we have already discussed about dinoflagellates, chrysophytes, euglenoids. So now we will discuss one more group, which is slime molds. Let us discuss this.
Slime molds. Slime molds are also known as slime fungi. They constitute peculiar group of organisms having several features which are animal-like in their vegetative stages and plant-like in their reproductive stages. Slime molds inhabit forest soil. The slime molds are also widely distributed, growing in damp and shady places. They may be found in the soil rich in humus, damp old planks of wood, rotten logs, decayed leaves, etc. They prefer moisture and darkness or dim light for normal growth.
Students, out of 500, more than 27 species of slime molds have been reported in India. These fascinating and quite beautiful organisms are also known as Myxomycetes. The common genera are Physerum polycephalum, Stemonitis, Tricha, and Trichia.
What do you think? Is it amoeba? No, it is not amoeba. In its growing stage, Physerum polycephalum resembles a giant amoeba that spreads out like a fan. In this plasmodial stage, Physerum polycephalum is a bright yellow glistening mass that can grow to 30 centimeters across under right conditions. Physerum species are basically enormous single cells with thousands of nuclei. Stemonitis species are amongst the most distinctive and elegant of the slime molds. They are characterized by the tall brown sporangia supported on slender stalks which grow in clusters on rotting wood.
Students, one common thing among this group is that their life cycle superficially resembles that of the fungi. The slime mold life cycle alternates between a unicellular feeding stage and a multicellular reproductive stage. Fifth main group of kingdom Protista, which we will discuss now, is protozoans. In Greek, proto means first and zoa means animals. So, it is a diverse group of single-celled microscopic eukaryotes that commonly show characteristics usually associated with animals, most notably mobility and heterotrophy. An organism belonging to this group is known as a protozoan. Now let us look at some of the important characters of this group.
Characteristic features of protozoans. Protozoa are single-celled microscopic eukaryotic organisms and have the ability to move independently. Protozoa usually range from 10 to 50 micrometer, but can grow up to 1 millimeter and are easily seen under a microscope. They live in many different environments and many species of protozoa are free-living. These varieties dwell in any habitat where water or moisture is available at some time during the year, including this soil. They move around with whip-like tails called flagella. Most protozoa are heterotrophs, obtaining their nutrients by ingesting small molecules or cells. Some protozoa are parasites. These parasitic protozoa usually have complex life cycles that take place in the cells, tissues, and bloodstream of their host.
Students, over 30,000 different types of protozoans have been found. Several species cause serious human diseases including malaria, amoebic dysentery, and giardiasis. Well-known examples are Trypanosoma, Trichonympha, Trichomonas, Leishmania, Paramecium, Plasmodium, and amoeba, etc. So students, this was about kingdom Protista and its groups, chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. And with this, we conclude our today's lesson. Here is what we have learned from this unit. 5-kingdom system of classification is proposed by R. H. Whitaker in the year 1969. Whitaker classified the living organisms into 5 kingdoms, namely Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. Monera represent the earliest group of organisms. Protists are single-celled organisms and usually move by cilia, flagella, or by amoeboid mechanisms. Red algae, slime molds, amoebas, and other protozoans are all protists. As you know, fungi are multicellular organisms. They have a cell wall and organelles like nucleus. They don't have chloroplasts. Flagellum is most often involved in locomotion in protists. Flagella vary in number, size, and or position. Euglenoids are all unicellular or single-celled and are mainly found in freshwater environment. Slime molds are also known as slime fungi. Slime molds inhabit forest soil. They are also widely distributed, growing in damp and shady places. About 27 species of slime molds have been reported from India. Protozoans may live freely or as parasites and may live as single cells or in simple colonies without any differentiation into tissues. Protozoans move around with whip-like tails called flagella. So students, enough for today. Let's quickly check with some short questions what you have grabbed today. Be attentive, here are some questions. The first question is, name the different kingdoms proposed by Whitaker. The answer is Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae, and Kingdom Animalia. The next question is, name the 5 major groups of Kingdom Protista. And the answer is, the Kingdom Protista is divided into 5 major groups: chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, and protozoans. The next question is, name some examples of euglenoids. The answer is Euglena, Paranema, Astacia, and Trichomonas. Next question. What is the function of the contractile vacuole in Euglena? The answer is contractile vacuole helps the cell to remove excess water, and without it the euglena could take in more water due to osmosis and the cell would explode. Next question. Name some examples of slime molds. The answer is, examples of slime molds are Physerum polycephalum, Stemonitis, Coma tricha, and Trichia. The next question is, list some important characters of protozoans. Answer. Protozoa are single-celled microscopic eukaryotic organisms. Protozoa usually range from 10 to 50 micrometer but can grow up to 1 millimeter. They live in many different environments and many species of protozoa are free-living. They move around with whip-like tails called flagella. Next question. Name some examples of protozoans. Answer. Well-known examples are Trypanosoma, Trichonympha, Trichomonas, Leishmania, Paramecium, Plasmodium, Amoeba, etc. Hope I have made a successful attempt to clear your concepts regarding Kingdom Protista and its groups, which will help you in fetching good marks in the exam. Thanks for your cooperation and attention. Looking forward to the next class. See you then. Thanks.